All right, welcome back to another client success interview. Today we are here with Danny Rio, the king of editors. Danny, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more? Tell us what you do.
Yeah, I'm Danny. I've been doing this a YouTube thing for about 2 years, and I don't know, I'm just about 20 years old, and I just make videos about editing, I guess.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. And I guess to start out, because people always want to like hear the results, right? We're here obviously to talk about your transformation. I guess when we first met or you first had that conversation with the team, where were you at revenue wise per month?
Um, I think I did about maybe just around or just under 2K for that month.
Okay.
And yeah, before that it was again still about like 2K, 1K plateau.
Right.
Yeah, nothing exciting.
And when was that again? Around like April, I believe.
No, that was in May. I think that was
May.
in May.
Okay. And now we are just finished off September. And what did you do in September?
September September was about 24K.
Okay, there we go. We can finish the interview. Awesome. But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Congrats again. That's sick. That's sick to see. And it's been a progression as well. Like you mentioned the month before, you also did pretty well.
Yeah, so month before that was somewhere around 10K.
Okay.
And a bit before that as well. But it's been like a kind of a gradual build up, but last month absolutely skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Okay, let's talk about like how that happened then, right? Because that's like I guess the next question that comes up. So you started. Um, when did you start the entire business? I guess like what was the story to like come about? Maybe like a little bit of the backstory, like okay, how you came about like selling your knowledge, teaching other editors on how to be better editors and make more.
Yeah, so I started video editing back in like 2020, and for about 3 years, again, continued to edit, and then I got to a really successful point of working with some of YouTube's biggest creators, working with some of my dream clients, and at some point I did hit like a kind of like a 10K month point with editing. Problem
Mhm.
is it's super time consuming, and I enjoyed the process. At this point, I didn't really have much of a challenge, and I liked talking about editing, so I started doing YouTube. And with YouTube, it wasn't really paying very well, and I tried to create my own product, but I was making about like $150 per payment of that, and I didn't really get past like making 9,000 in the span of a year and a half. So I needed like a lot more of a sustainable way to make my income. And then last November, so nearly a year ago, I started coaching,
Mhm.
and then that was a bit of a tough grow at the start. Obviously going from like November till May, doing about 1 to 2K, and then obviously things changes after that.
Got you. Awesome, man. Awesome, man. And when you first joined, like, what was kind of the main struggles? Like, what was keeping you at like 1, 2, 3K a month? Do you feel?
I had I had a lot of like there were so many holes in the business. Um, there was a lot of problems with getting on the calls with these guys. I had a lot of fears. I had um, a lot of things in my head stopping me from working with these guys, closing them. Also, price points. I didn't really think that it was okay to charge higher. And then I spoke with you, and I spoke with some other guys on the team. Price points changed. Conversion rate skyrocketed from like 18% to about 62%. I
Hmm.
think last month was about 67. Um,
And that's
so
your conversion rate on sales calls you're talking about.
yeah, that's
That's sick.
that's the
That's
conversion
very
I'm
high.
talking about.
That's so high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really sick.
And it was mostly just those two, but it's a big thing to fix.
Right, right. Okay. So that was kind of so the main like yeah, that's the next I guess big question. Like what are the main things you feel changed to go from 2K to 24? Like what have been the big needle movers? Because there's probably a bunch of little things, right? But you kind of mentioned there like maybe a little bit more in depth. Like what are the key things like this that led to that? like crazy growth?
Well, for one, the content that I was making, although I was enjoying it, you'd be surprised to find out I actually had kind of no idea what kind of content would actually convert people, and actually what would help me to make a bit more money. And that's where the whole program kicked in, and then I realized I could just sit and I could just talk in front of a whiteboard, and people would start booking calls. And I was having this problem where even I was trying to hire editors, and they were like completely incompetent. So I realized I don't have to spend like $1,000 or $2,000 every single video just to get people to book calls. So the content thing was a huge part. I think last month, half of my calls were from YouTube, and the other half were from email that was nurtured through YouTube.
Right.
So that was a big game changer.
Got you. And then one thing that was interesting is you mentioned like kind of overcoming the mental roadblocks when it comes to sales and selling and getting on sales calls and all that. There are a lot of people, especially that we speak to, and a lot of even our clients right now who have that, where like they won't see themselves as like a business person. They're an expert in a certain thing, like editing, but they just don't see themselves as a business person. How did you overcome that to actually be able to like make the money you deserve to make?
Well, okay. If you're going through this whole model, this whole business thing, you're obviously doing it because you know what you're doing, right? Now, transitioning into the point of sales and selling people, it can feel a bit difficult to do. Like the idea of selling to people, it seems kind of sometimes a bit wrong, sometimes a bit difficult. And that was kind of the exact same thing I was going through. But then I kind of looked at the results I was getting. Like the people that I work with, they're quite young. I've worked with about 20 clients so far. Half of them have gone up to a point of 5 or 10K through editing, which makes like this huge realization for me where had I not closed these guys, they would be at a point where, they'd be not suffering financially, but they wouldn't be where they are today.
Right.
And that just goes to show that, I know what I'm doing, and it's almost an obligation for me to kind of help them out, because that's exactly what I'm doing over here, is helping these guys out. And I know exactly what the next 6 or the next 12 months of their lives will look like had I not closed them. And that was a huge game changer.
Absolutely. You're serving them rather than trying to just like sell them. That's like what I always talk about. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. On the content side of things, then I guess what do you feel like are the biggest shifts there? Is it just like putting out more content? Is it just like believing it's possible to actually convert people from content? Like what do you think like shifted there to again make that jump in revenue?
Yeah, it's actually a bit of both. I was thinking like, because I'm very tired of seeing the content that I see from other editors, and I'm thinking this is very repetitive. And I know that if I was starting out back in like 2020, I wouldn't want to watch this stuff. Like this just feels so noisy. So I started to think, what would I want to watch if I was at that stage? And the whiteboard stuff is, for me, it's just I think it's fun. I think it's neat. I think it's an entirely new approach, and it's definitely helped a lot of people. It's converted more. And again, the entire process of having to pay editors, then give them revisions and stuff. Believe me, as an editor, I would know it is exhausting, which thankfully I don't really have to go through now that I've got this whole new shift in, I guess, approach to the content that I make. And I'll also, now that there's less production that goes in behind it, I can pump out a lot more content.
Yeah. It's more like conversion focused content rather than like looking pretty or anything like that. Yeah.
Precisely.
How did you so you overcame the fear of getting on the sales calls and selling people, but then how do you go from 18%, I think it was, conversion rate to 67? Like where does that come in? With the higher price, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was. So I was charging like $800 or $1,000 before, and
oh my gosh.
I would get these people joining the calls, and they'd be like, "Yo, that's way too much." And now it's funny, you charge more and people value it more, and they put in more hard work. And then you'd have people that actually pay in full at 3K. And I'm kind of going through a similar point now where I'm thinking I might actually have to charge even higher at this point, because that'll help me out. But yeah, like there's a lot of things that change. Number one, price points actually does help with conversion. If you increase it, people are going to take you a lot less seriously if you're charging like $500 or $400 for your product in comparison to something around $3,000 to $5,000. Because otherwise it would seem too good to be true if you're giving them a life-changing experience for just a couple $100. And also the way that I kind of approached it, the people that I was targeting, because I guess you could say like the lower quality prospects, they're not gonna sit through 30 minutes of me talking in front of a whiteboard. They're gonna go watch the content where it's fully edited and they've got their brain consistently stimulated with all these fancy effects and stuff from the video. But the people who are legitimately seeking real answers have the patience to sit through my videos. And those are the kind of quality people that I want to work with. And those are the people that are willing to pay the extra price points. So it really all just kind of adds up when you're looking at it from like a bird's eye view.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I guess now we just spoke a bit about, like, before hopped on, I started recording about your goals, like, moving forward. Now that you're at this point, you've obviously been speaking about you potentially joining some masterminds that we have in common. Tell us a little bit about that, like what like where you see yourself moving now the next 6-12 months and all that.
Yeah. Big month in terms of making the money, of course, but the thing that's been driving me really is just being the best. So even in editing, I was always aiming to be better than the guy next to me. That's the same case here. I just want to make a better product. So the next few months I'm going to be focused on hiring, systemizing, making better content, making better a better product, obviously all with a bit of ease. And within 6 months I'm probably looking at a cool 50K per month. If I can speak with full confidence. If I can speak with full confidence, I can see 50K per month in by the time March rolls around, I can do that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, especially because YouTube, it compounds, man, right? Like it starts to really build on itself. So that's awesome to see. Cool, man. Okay, I guess what do you obviously had the mentality to invest in yourself and in the business to grow. And you now help people because you take the sales calls, right? And so you help people to make that decision for themselves. What do you have to say, I guess, to people about like actually like investing in themselves and taking that step and making like that difficult decision to invest in themselves, but also like do things differently, right? Like take their business to the next level, have to face those uncomfortable decisions like, hey, I'm going to have to hop on sales calls. I'm going to have to really sell. I'm going to have to go for this. Because I know that's a big thing, again, for clients, for people in the industry of like, okay, I've got this niche knowledge, but again, like all this is a lot, this business stuff, investing in myself, doing sales calls, all that stuff. What do you kind of have to say for someone in that position, I
guess? For people that are, trying to up their business, but they've got to, they've got to go through that experience of spending more. What the way that I think about it is like, I'm going to be honest, when I joined the program, I was, again, I was charging only like 1K, and the idea of spending more, the idea of charging more terrified me. But I did want to do it, and I'd never sold something so expensive except for like my editing services, and that was like 5 years proven. Whereas this coaching thing was going around for like less than a year. And ultimately you can't really sell anything at such high price points until you invest in it yourself.
Right.
And it's obviously going to be very scary at the beginning, when you don't kind of understand too much, or if you don't understand too much about this world of building a business. But honestly, when you've got the kind of knowledge that you have and you want to, in the best way possible, that both, benefits you and benefits the people that you want to help, investing into change is it's mandatory, really. It's not even just suggested. It's something that you have to do. And that's what I did when I kind of started out. And I hardly had the money for it, but I knew that obviously with change, something was going to work out in the
end. Yeah, 100%. It's like having that mentality of like, okay, we're just going to go for it. I don't know what's going to work. Something's got to work though. But yeah, cool, man. any like last thoughts or anything you want to tell the world? um,
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're at this point where you're watching your videos, I don't know where on, where you might be watching this, but if this is your first or second or third video that you're watching through Otavia's, a part of you knows the decision has to be made. And I've just kind of explained to you the entire process and the entire change that I've gone through. And I talked about how I hardly had the money to pay for this, but I knew things had to change, and I knew that things would change, had I gone through that process. So if you've gone on this long, then a part of you kind of knows. So it's not like this isn't me just saying a bunch of bollocks. This is me saying like I've gone through this, I've experienced this, and I seriously think it's going to benefit you.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. It's been sick to see the transformation, man. It's cool. And it's cool to see it as well. Like you've transformed not only the business, but as a person. Like being able to do sales calls, it changes you, and being able to like really grow the business, you develop as a person. It's like Hormozi says, personal development. Cool, man. All right. Appreciate it, Danny. Thank you for your time.
No worries, brother.
All right.
All good.